So with these types of questions, it's important to use the appropriate variables so you can put a structure to these questions. We're told that the shirts in April was sold for X dollars, and that in May were sold for Y dollars each. They also tell us the revenue, and you'll see that what we don't know is the number of shirts. So let's say number of shirts in April was N sub X, Y. I'm using that so that it's kind of, I can link it with that variable Y. We're told that the revenue from the shirts last May, which would be the number of shirts sold times the price of each, was 73% less, which means it would be 27% of the revenue in April. So that's the translation of the equation given in the main stem. Question is, was the selling price of each of the shirts sold May less than? So that's the question, is Y less than X? So let's start with statement 1. Store sold 70% fewer of the shirts last May, which is N sub Y is 70% fewer, so it would be 30% of the number of shirts sold in April. So if we use that information and plug that here, we'll get 0.3 NXY, 0.27 NXX, and you'll see this part drops out. I can simplify that, move 2 decimal places, so that would become 30Y, 27X, which means Y is 27 over 30, or 0.9X. And we can answer this question, yes, Y is less than X because it's 90% of X. So we have a definite answer, so 1 alone is sufficient. In fact, I think that is probably the trap, is for students to not think 1 is sufficient. 2 says the store's total revenue from the sale of 170 shirts last April. So 170 times the price of each shirt is equal to 3740. So this gives me what X is. But I still don't know what the numbers are because this is given in the main stem. So even if you replace X with this number that we will obtain here, we can't get a value for Y because we don't know how the numbers sold in April and May are related. So 2 alone is insufficient. Answer is A. And just to summarize, the trap is really C. That's what they're trying to condition you. And in general, what they do is they make the first statement a little bit harder to digest, so that you kind of give up immediately and say, oh, that's insufficient. And then when you combine them, it's easy to see it's C. But I would say if you end up in that situation, I always say use examples to show that it's insufficient. Meaning, if your first temptation is that this is insufficient, force yourself to write 2 cases where the answer to that is a yes and a no. Because when you start doing that, you'll see you can't really do that. And that's always a hint that the statement alone is sufficient. So to summarize, the answer here is A.